I've got a couple of these hotspots with DMR, and maybe I said DMR earlier. I meant D-Star. I forgot what I said earlier. The ICOM stuff. Yeah, I was very frustrated with that some years ago. But the D-Star, I finally got my head wrapped around making the code plug for that thing. I've got a little MD380HT, and it's got some other firmware on there that really makes it easy to go on to just any talk group or whatever. And I've programmed a couple of hotspots that I've had with me, one in the car, one at home, and occasionally I've gotten on them, and it's pretty cool. It is a cool alternative. But I sort of fell out of favor with that too, to be honest. Not that I'm against it. I just, for whatever reason, now I have an FT891 Yaesu in my car, which is a 100-watt mobile rig. I've got the ATAS 120, which is a screwdriver antenna that Yaesu makes, which is a 40 through, for that radio, it's 40 through 6 meters. It'll do 2 meters and 440, but the radio doesn't. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun with that, and obviously the band's been a little sketchy over the last few weeks, but a couple of months ago, I was really having a ball on 10 meters, working Australia, New Zealand, in the middle of the day, driving to and from work. Steve, over.
Oh, yeah, QSL. I know. Right up until March. Yes, I'm a big 10-meter guy. I mean, that band I wish would come more alive. See, I've been, even though I've only had my amateur radio license for about the last 8 years, like 8 years, 61, but I did 11 meters, I would have loved to have him earlier. I didn't get my license until I was 53. Now I'm 61, but but I have a lot of experience with, on 11 meters, you can still work lots of DX, and so 10 is just like 11, and but the whole problem is it just opens up once in a while. But oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. It was so good this winter. I was 20 over 9 signals from the UK and Europe booming, but then as soon as we got into April, everything fell out. This year it's been very poor for sporadic heat. That band, 11 and 10, this time of year, lots of times, the years in the past, there used to be like all-night propagation there. I don't know, this year there's been so little sporadic heat. I don't know if you've noticed that.
I have noticed that, yeah. The 6-meter band openings have been a little infrequent, and not that I really get on 6 much, but I've done it from the car a few times, and it works fine. If you're lucky enough to be on when the band's open. But yeah, the sporadic E is interesting. You get some of that really good short skip, which is a blast, because everybody's got strong signals. It's not traditionally what you'd expect on 10 meters. That's a fun experience with the sporadic E. And yeah, I've been doing this a while. I was around for the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, mid 80s sunspot cycle. And let me tell you what, Steve, that was insane beyond insane. I was working guys with 1 watt all over the world, and I mean it literally. It got to the point where I was building dipoles on 10 meters inside of my house, like in the room I was in, just for the challenge of it. And at like 11 o'clock at night, I'd have a regular QSOs with these guys in Brazil, for example, and I'd bring my radio down to 1 watt, and I'm like, "Do you still hear me?" And they're like, "Yeah, we hear you fine." And the dipole's in the room at this point, right, Roger?
Wow, that's amazing. I've heard some people say, like right now we're in this, they call it cycle 25. People are telling me we're over about, I was speaking to another guy about what we're talking about right now. He was predicting 2024 or 2025 until it hit. So I don't feel it. I don't know, you've been through the 1980s cycle. Like back then, I didn't have good equipment in 1980. back then I actually didn't get into sideband till 1982. So I missed that the 80 cycle when you're like that year. But I remember I couldn't use my radio. I had a TRC 455 then. It just it was an AM radio, and I couldn't use it. There was like 10 F units of all DX, but I could see you were really having a whale of a time then. But I don't know, would you say this cycle is comparison to that, or because I want to see conditions like that to come back, but I don't know. I don't think. Well, it was just in the winter it was getting that good, but I think it could still get better.
Yeah, so the only comments are just sort of comments that I'm going to pass along, not based on any true knowledge of the subject, but and I often wonder how they predict these things. But the predictions are that the solar cycles are actually getting weaker. As we, in our lifetime, they were strong. Even there was, I wasn't around for it, but I guess there was something around in the 60s that was incredibly intense. Then that, late 70s, early 80s, again, very intense but slightly weaker. And as we go on, apparently they're predicting weaker. It's not exactly easily predictable, but somehow they're predicting weaker solar flare activity as these cycles progress, right? From this cycle to the next will be less strong. But again, that's only what I hear. I have no idea how they came up with that. So technically, we should be, each subsequent cycle until some point by which they get stronger again is getting weaker. I can't say that I would agree or disagree that this cycle is better or worse, but I think it's worse based on my knowledge of what I did back then. But I also don't think it's over, or even close to being over. I think we can have a few good years yet. So that's of course just my feeling of it, having gone through a couple of these things. It's not. The window's usually about 5 years, on both ends. You got your peak in there, in the middle, but it takes a while for it to slip away. It comes up slow and then it leaves a little slow. Roger?
Yeah, USL. Well, one friend told me, and I agree with him, it's not an exact science. So there's no way you can really totally predict it. I never would have thought that it would be so bad the last couple of months. I would have thought there would have been and May usually is a very good month for sporadic E, but maybe you'll start to pick up some sporadic E in June. But unlike you, I like the short stints like what we're doing. That's why I like. Well, 40 meters is really active tonight. Have you noticed 40 lately has been real dead during the day? And it just comes alive at the evening. But I noticed back in the winter, 40 was really happening during the day. We get way better daytime 40 conditions. I think it's hard to understand all this. But it's fun. That's the mystifying thing of HF.
WZ2P. I agree. I agree with that. I've been doing this a long time. You've been doing it a while yourself, and every once in a while my enthusiasm may wane a little bit, but I'm 60. I'll be 60 in September, so I consider myself to be 60 already. But I've been a ham since I'm about 13 years old, and there have been times in my life when I got out of it for a while. When I first got married, I got out of it for a while, but it always maintained a place, and I'm always enthusiastic, and regardless, right? It's a great hobby. You get to meet a lot of great people. Very interesting. Everybody's got an interesting story as you dive in and have conversation. I'm not a big contester at all. I'm not a particular fan of the 3-second, back and forth, goodbye, hello, and all that. But for whoever's doing that kind of stuff, more power to them. We just got to keep the bands active. I would agree the 40-meter conditions, in fact, 20 as well, not great during the day. And has been like that. I can tell you I did an experiment about 2.5-3 years ago in the winter time on 40 meters. Do you happen to know what a Raspberry Pi is? It's a little $30, well, back then it was a $3 computer, over.
Oh, yeah, that's Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi too. Yeah, I know they're a small little, I used that to power up a DVAP when I first got into, when I first got my ticket. But now they've got really they've got, you probably know they've got some amazing hotspot, open spot 4, and, they got some spots and maybe more minis and all, yeah. But, yeah, I'm aware of the Raspberry Pi.
So let me lay this on you. So, really, this guy's going to tune up right here? Are you an idiot? Or are you just stupid? Or what are you? Yeah, he's an idiot, and he's stupid. But anyway, WZ2K. So I have a Raspberry Pi 3B Plus, right? There is an image file that makes the Raspberry Pi a whisper transmitter, WSPR, which is weak signal propagation reporter, and it can put out on its own as a transmitter. On HF, it can put out maybe about 5 milliwatts. So I'm running a 160 meter full wave loop. I through a low pass filter transmitted on the Raspberry Pi. The filter was probably cutting a couple of milliwatts, of loss right there. So maybe I was running 2 or 3 milliwatts as a guess. I have nothing that can measure that low of power level. Are you hearing me through this guy, by the way?
Yeah, I'm hearing you perfect. You're just, no, he's not interfering with you at all.
Just making sure. So, anyway, as a transmitter at, let's say, 2 to 5 milliwatts, I picked 40 meters because at that time, like 2.5 years ago, 40 meters was active 24 hours a day. Different band conditions, different times of the day, but it was active, so that's why I picked it. And I ran it for 24 hours a day for 7 days. So for one entire week, I ran the Whisper transmitter, which was only a Raspberry Pi. That was it. It was the transmitter. It was broadcasting out my call sign, my grid square, and my power level. Okay. So immediately when you do that Whisper, you can go onto a website and find and then filter out your call sign, and you can see who's reporting hearing you, right? So in 1 week's time, Steve, with maybe 2 or 3 milliwatts on 40 meters with this antenna, which is a 160 meter full wave loop, I managed to work multiple times that week all the continents around the globe. I mean, every continent was hit at least once, and most of them, like the Europeans, every day I had propagation. Whatever time of the day it was open, every day I had propagation to those stations in Europe. I had propagation every day that week for about a half hour between 7 a.m. and 7:30 a.m., which is a very short window, but it was in the winter time when the gray line was happening at about that hour, and or in that window of time. And I had propagation to a Honolulu station the whole week for that half-hour period, and it wasn't an exact half hour, right? It was give or take, minutes on both sides of it. And then I also got confirmed by with 2 hits that week to a German research vessel at Antarctica. Right? This is 2 milliwatts on 40 meters a couple of years ago. What do you think of that?
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, that sounds like a great 160-meter loop. That sounds like a great antenna. Yeah.
You know the frequencies
I
in
don't have
use,
anything
right?
that good for 160 and 80. I don't. I mainly operate from 40 meters up. Not that much on 80 and 160, but no, that's amazing that you're doing that good. No, it's just, I think it's more of a wintertime band, 40, but it was good this year, but today, I was on with a local friend, and, you could hardly hear any signals on 40, and only 20, but hopefully it'll get better there, my friend. Anyways, I think I might just take a break here. It's been excellent chatting with you. And, your signal's booming. I don't know if I'm just going to take a bit of a break, want to get something from the refrigerator. But it's been a pleasure, and, you don't have to worry about that fellow affecting your signal. You're like, this radio, you're like in the blue. This radio is kind of different when a lot of radios, when you go above 9, it's the red, but for this radio, they highlight in blue. But, I'll listen for your final, and, thanks for the nice, enjoyable QSO. Let's hope the band keep getting better, and this, maybe we'll get some of that 1980 experience back in the, if this cycle 25 gets hopefully better than it is.
Yeah, very good, Steve. Well, it was a pleasure to meet you here, and appreciate the conversation as well. And I'm on your side there. Let's see what happens. Not like we have much control, but take advantage of it while we can, and I'm sure we'll meet again here, Steve. So have a good night. VE3SIZ WZ2P. Thanks again for reaching out.
Yeah, all the best, and hope you make a lot more contacts. Bye-bye from Canada.
7 for WZ2P QRZ.
November 1, Whiskey Oscar Echo. November 1, Whiskey Oscar Echo.
QRZ, Whiskey Zulu 2 Papa, WZ2P.
Whiskey Z2P, Kilo Echo 4 Hotel Zulu.
Nice signal, KE4. Man, I can't read my own writing already. Should be filling out prescription. KE4, did you say HZ or I'm it's late, man. Sorry about that. WZ2P, my name is Rich, and I'm about 40 miles north of New York City. Over to you.
Okay, Rich, real good. Whiskey Zulu 2 Papa, Kilo Echo 4 Hotel Zulu. Name here is Roger, and we're in Goldsboro, North Carolina, about 50 miles east of Raleigh and about 80 miles inland from the ocean here in eastern part of North Carolina, Rich. Good signal. I'll give you a report next time around. WZ2P, Kilo Echo 4 Hotel Zulu.
Yeah, thanks, Roger. Well, you're booming in too. You're solid S9. I have to admit, I've run a little SDR, tiny little black box, and I still don't have the means to calibrate the meter. The only thing I did is use WWV signal, which isn't great because it moves around a little bit. But it says you're an S9, but man, you're booming in. I mean, you could be 20 over for all I know. But I wouldn't go by my meter. It's just really, you sound great and loud. Okay, on your location, yeah, I'm eventually going to be a resident of your state. I own a home down there. Down near Wilmington. We bought it in April of 21, and I'm actually heading down there in July. got some family events going on over in Mooresville, which is on the western part of the state, and then